Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Egg Wars. Glad to see ya. Hope you are doing well. Much love to everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in once again. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Alright. Now, before we get into anything today, I'm just feeling good. I want to give away another copy of Neckbeards. I know I did it the other day where I did a bunch off one video, but I think I'm just going to start picking a random person each day to give away a copy to, unless they already have it, or until every single person that I know gets it, or maybe after a couple weeks, whatever we'll do. But anyways, so I did a random YouTube comment pick off the last Egg Wars, and words are weird. My good man, my good musician friend, you have won a copy of Neckbeards. So if you hear this, I hope you do. Please just get in contact with me. I'll get that to you if you do have Steam, etc., etc. Also, then, let's see here. I know I'm gonna crack this sip because we gotta get to that. I need to have it's early. Don't talk to me until I have my caffeine. I gotta have a little bit of that. That's what's up. Alright, now, so I didn't do an Egg Wars yesterday. I did put a song out, but I didn't do Egg Wars. And the reason why I didn't do that yesterday was because I went to the hospital in the morning. I was at the hospital for a while. It was kind of slow, but I do have some fantastic news. And that news is that, from what it looks like right now, I will not need to have the foot surgery. I know I mentioned, my foot's been, I injured my foot, about almost 3 weeks ago now, about 2.5 weeks ago. But from what it's looking like right now, everything's been going well. It seems to be healing properly. Everything's aligned. The bone's not going crazy. It's not all messed up. So it should be good. We should be good. And so I'm glad to say I don't think I'm going to be needing to have foot surgery. However, I am still having my oral surgery next week, about a week from yesterday now. So, that's still going to be going on. I might be looking for a couple people to maybe, if you're somebody who likes to do video edits, you like to do, I don't need anything even spectacular or fancy, just a little something fun, maybe out of some clips that I've already uploaded in the past, just because I don't know, how my uploading situation might be for 2-3 days, and I'd like to have something come out. So if you, if you have anything interesting that, I could send a few bucks off to, if somebody wants to do a little something, just let me know. Also, let me see here. People have said in some comments, for people who are new and they don't really know about me, they've said that I should do Snapchat. I do actually do Snapchat. I do have it. I have quite a few people on there, actually. And I'll put that in the description. Otherwise, it's just the new formula, all one word. So if you do want to add me on Snapchat, please do if you have it. I'm not very good about using it a ton, but I'm trying to get more on top of it lately. I'm trying to do better in all aspects of life, and that includes, staying connected with all you lovely, lovely people who I love so much and appreciate so much. And I also saw a comment, maybe it was on episode 30, I don't remember exactly, 30 or 31, where somebody said, it would be a lot more interesting to watch this if you were driving around like Hyde Wars, if you're out in the vehicle, And at first I thought to myself, I'm like, what, that's just kind of crazy. I can't really see myself doing that. I don't know, but I thought about it a little bit, and I'm like, what, maybe once my foot is healed, I think is going to be kind of the determining factor here, but it's working its way. No surgery needed, so we're kind of working that way. I thought to myself, I use my blue microphone, my external blue microphone here for the audio on this, since the GoPro audio is wonky right now, and it was not really always the best to begin with anyway, but I'm like, shit, what? Maybe if I put brought my old ThinkPad, set it in the passenger side of my vehicle, maybe found a way to, because this microphone, it's got a good grip base on it, pretty good. Just I could maybe finagle some kind of way to, get a fucking, recording setup going in my vehicle. And maybe, hey, maybe I wouldn't be so opposed to doing an Egg Wars type of thing where I'm driving. I'm just like, shit, I don't know. I might find myself to be a little bit distracted. The audio might not be so good, but I think I am going to consider maybe at least giving it a try for one Egg Wars in the future, as we move forward. But also, I know when I was with Sam, he said, listen, Patreon, the free speech alternative to Patreon, It's public now. You don't need to be invited anymore. And he said, man, you know what? You should really get on this website because, I don't like to do that sort of thing. I say I have my PayPal thing if somebody wants to do that or Bitcoin, whatever. I don't really like to be all, like that, but he's like, we just want to get more people on the platform because it gives it some more, kind of gets more people on there. It's better for the platform, so a platform that's not banning people for their beliefs. And so I'm like, okay, well, I don't know, maybe if I did start doing, because I wouldn't be driving around like my local area just because I know people will try to probably fuck with me, so I'd probably be having to drive a little bit out of the way, maybe hit some highways, interstates, and sort of things. So I might be putting on some miles. So I'm like, fuck, maybe if I wanted to try and take EggWars on the road and drive around, maybe that would be like something I could say, hey, you know what, just give me some fucking gas money, help me pay my fucking insurance and some gas and oil or whatever. Maybe that could be some reason to get on Patreon. But for right now, I'm just not, we'll see how it goes, but it's not all, it's not my most biggest concern right now. So I think that's pretty much all the small things I wanted to get out of the way today. But I was thinking to myself, as I often do, I'm like, well, what do I want to talk about? I don't remember exactly how it even came to mind, but, I don't think I've ever spoken about conventions and my experience of going to conventions. At this point, I'm going to conventions for well over a decade now, and I've never gone to a convention like with my family. There's people who I have known that they go to conventions. They've been going to conventions since they were toddlers, depending on how it would, on the convention and things, obviously. But I've gone to a lot of small conventions more than anything in my life. Coming from growing up in Minnesota, there was a lot of small sci-fi gaming type of conventions that I would go to. Some of them, I've been to conventions, if you will. I don't know if I'd even call it that, more like maybe a gathering or something where you'd have like maybe a dozen people showing up to, like somebody's house or something, or, I think I mentioned one maybe before that I was at. I think when I was talking about Monster drinks, maybe there was a thing I went to called a Geek Out once, which was just at somebody's house, but it was like on a farm, and we were camping out and that sort of thing. So I've been to some very small sci-fi gaming type gatherings in the past, but even so, even with, but of course I've been to like Fan Expo. Yeah, I was at Anime Expo. Yeah, I was at VidCon now in the last couple years, but really when I was going to these conventions, I've never been one to be like in any kind of fandom, and maybe I'm kind of a hipster too, so it's like I've never been a huge fan of flavor of the month kind of things like, Doctor Who or fucking whatever, like some of these people would go to, you would maybe at some of these smaller conventions, the guest of honor might have been somebody who, maybe made an appearance in an episode of like, Deep Space Nine, or, somebody who is like a small-ish local writer, or, maybe regional writer who writes sci-fi, or whatever the case might be. But the major thing that I got from going to conventions, because I think the very first convention I ever went to did have like video gaming, and I realized when I went to this one, I was maybe 13 years old, I think. I was maybe 13. And somebody told me, or 12 or 13, and somebody was like, don't go to the video gaming room. It's full of kids, and it's a fucking cancerous piece of shit. You don't want to go there. It's for people with no attention span or whatever. But at the same time, I'm like, well, shit. I'm here. I'm thinking about like LAN parties and shit. I'm like, whoa, I'm going to go check out the video games. It's going to be super cool. And I go there, and of course, it's all children who are fucking screaming. Basically your whole, this was mid-2000s, so Xbox was out. There was Xbox Live. All that was out, So he basically had a bunch of kids who were used to just, screaming into their microphones and complaining and crying and trying to throw shit when they don't win and all that different stuff. So then I realized after that, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. So I started getting into, maybe 2005, 2006, I started getting into traditional gaming, pen and paper gaming. And I tell you what, man, I don't think I would ever have gotten into it if I didn't go to conventions, because, I had never been, especially at a young age like that. It's difficult to, just be, what are you going to go to fucking junior high school and be like, oh, hey guys, hey man, who wants to come over to my mom's house and play some fucking Dungeons and Dragons? I'm sure that happens. I'm sure, I'm almost certain, obviously, that it does, and there's people who probably have fond memories of doing some shit like that as young people, but for me, it just wasn't even now, in my hometown, small, kind of semi-rural, just people don't really have interests like that. Their interests are basically work at the factory and then go to your trailer and get drunk. That's basically it, But I got introduced to some fantastic games. Obviously Dungeons and Dragons was a big one, that was like at every single convention somebody would be running a game. So I got into that first, but there was a game, there was a couple other ones like Paranoia was a really fun game that we'd get people to run. You might have heard, I don't know, it's crazy. I don't know how to even explain it. It's basically like it's kind of weird because it's made in a way that's sort of like, it's about like this hyper paranoia about like communism, and it's written almost in a way, I'm pretty sure the people that made the game are actually kind of like sympathetic to the left, but it's just such a fun, wacky, wild game with so many crazy scenarios that it's just funny anyway. I remember we used to run a lot of games of Feng Shui, which was like this crazy martial arts game. And then of course there was board games too that people would have. And, there was a guy who would go to all these conventions who was an older guy. And to be fair, I'm going into this saying I haven't gone to any smaller, Minnesota conventions in over 2 years now. Basically, I'll get to why that is, but I hope this gentleman is still doing well. He was always going to these conventions. He was a great guy, super into all different kinds of games. There's people who I know who they live at the game shop, at these conventions. They would always be buying the latest card releases, board game releases, and all that stuff. And I don't even browse, like, the TG board on 4chan. I don't even browse that. So it's like, I don't even know. I'm not even on top of it. A lot of times I would need to have things introduced to me to really be aware of them, except for stuff like Munchkin or something like that, But I'm telling you, like, it's the people that you meet at conventions, at least I'm going to be speaking on this in my experience, because now that's another part of the reason why I don't really go to conventions anymore, unfortunately, is because the demographic has changed so much. But when I was first going to conventions, and you were going to play some TG, you knew what you were getting into. There was a lot of guys who were very socially awkward, probably overweight, probably just, the guy, the stereotypical, like, comic book nerd, whatever kind of guy that you would expect. And I really enjoyed that, Some of them were, like, really severely autistic and would be a huge, annoying type of person that would just be, like, super just abrasive because they're so autistic that they just, they're not used to human interaction, and I'm probably somebody who's like that, and I probably just don't realize it because I'm autistic. But anyway, but for the most part, it was a pretty enjoyable thing to do, and just you're always looking forward to it. There was always wacky, nerdy adventures going on. And then, of course, once I turned 21 in 2012, goddamn, I'm getting old. Once you turn 21 and then you're able to start drinking, it changes the landscape of the convention significantly, because it's like, almost unfortunately, I think probably when I turned 21, it's kind of almost started killing conventions for me, because being able to drink and going to these, going to like con parties and things like that, I mean, that was some good shit. Don't get me wrong. Good time, good, just a lot of fun. And I drank ridiculously way too much and got way too fucked up every single year that I did do this. But, as we got older, like there was guys that were kind of my age that I grew, that were always going to these conventions that I would go to growing up, and we were always gaming together. And then, once everybody's drinking, it's more like, it's not as much that we're going there to game and get really immersed in the game, which I really do still like. I mean, I'm somebody who, I really like to do RPG shit. I really get into it. I do voices. I'll just do it. I draw artwork of my character. I'm not trying to sound like I'm too crazily autistic here, but I just like to, if we're doing an RPG game or if we're running a game with some people, I like to really, try and get into it and just really have fun with it. You know what I mean? So it kind of started to kill that off a little bit as I got older, because it's like, we're going to go there. We've been working all week and we're tired and we're kind of beat from a week of work, and we're going to a place where everybody's fucking partying. We're just like, we're gonna game a little bit, up until like 7 p.m. on like the first night, and then we're just gonna go fucking get hammered for 6 hours and just go around and going through all these parties, going wild. Then we're gonna wake up at, 2 p.m. the next day with a fucking deadly hangover, spend, next few hours kind of stop, relieving ourselves, getting some V8 or Gatorade or whatever, and then going back and doing more parties again. So it's like, it kind of started to change the atmosphere. But what really ended up, the reason why I basically kind of, I did go to Fan Expo in 2015, VidCon and Anime Expo this year, and it is what it is, but things just changed way too much for me at conventions because they became so just, everything's so politically correct, everything is so super sensitive. It was last time I went to a convention, I'll tell you what it was, alright. So I was in Minnesota, and I went to a convention in spring of 2015. It was one I'd gone to many, many times. And it was at there would be different venues over the years. It would kind of depend. There were some that were more fun than others, in my opinion. Some that would be, more close to more like fast food spots because you would have some snacks or whatever maybe and like the con suite or whatever at these conventions, but it was nice to be able to just like go drive over and get, some fucking Burger King or whatever the case might have been nearby. So it was at a different location than I think I'd ever been at in all the years I went to this convention. And we're there, and, we go right to the gaming room, and everything was kind of, people played Magic, that's always obviously been a staple. If we're talking, TG card games going on, whatever, even Cards Against Humanity had been around, for whatever, I don't think it was super old at this point, was it? I guess I don't even know when it came out, but people were playing that too. But like this year, back in 2015, like I went to the TG room, I'm looking for maybe some Munchkin, maybe some D&D, maybe something that, that's what when I think back on it, I'm like, yeah, just some guys in a fucking hotel meeting room or whatever, just all, being around a table and having some fun gaming until late, but it was all a bunch of kids, young people, all like a bunch of Magic, more so than usual, a bunch of Cards Against Humanity, more so than I was used to. So it was like the atmosphere was just kind of like, I wasn't as comfortable as I had once been, it was more, it had kind of, it was people that I wasn't used to. And another thing is that a lot of the guys who I had gamed with over the years, at this point in time, up to this current day, a probably unsettling disproportionate, I should say, amount of these men have become male to female transsexuals at this point. I don't know what their reasoning behind it was. I'm just gonna say that I know that most of them were, not having any luck with relationships. They were, virgins and they were lonely, and then, I don't know, they just all of a sudden decided they were all transsexual. So that was kind of awkward in itself, but also at the same time, there was guys who I had gamed with who are a little bit older than me, so let's say like they're in their 30s or whatever, and they were just kind of, they were taking like the Reddit, SJW type pill, it was because everybody, of course, obviously, like, with a bunch of these guys who I had, gamed with at conventions over the years becoming transsexual, they were all, like, super on alert for every goddamn thing possible, just repeatedly, regurgitating all of the most stale, far, extreme leftist straw man topics, and it was getting into the gaming, and I did not care for that very much. And there actually was, I sat down, I was playing Munchkin, we finally got a Munchkin game going, and two teenage transsexuals came down and sat down at the game, and they were dating each other or whatever, and it was me and a bunch of, basically, like I would say, like Reddit-ish type men, and they were just fawning over these transsexuals and fawning over them, and oh my goodness, they were actually, like, intentionally losing the game to them. They were just, like, trying to do whatever they could to try and make these transsexuals win, and, like, just, like, talking about, they would be like, oh, so, don't you guys just, like, love feminism and shit? And, like, unironically, like trying to, like, pander everything to them. And, like, I ended up, me and, like, some other guy that was there, like, he was just kind of more neutral about it. But we ended up doing something where we, like, basically BTFO one of these, transsexuals. And everybody at the table was just, oh my god, you couldn't just let him have it. You couldn't just fucking give him that win or whatever. And we're like, this is not fun. This is not interesting. This is not good. I don't like this. This is like, it was leaving a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, this is fucking stupid. Why are we all sitting here having this fucking Redditor, liberal circle jerk? I'm like, I'm not interested. I'm just gonna kind of get up from the game. I'll just go find something else to do. So it was a little bit later then. So I started going to some of the parties. And it was actually pretty fun then. I kind of started mingling with, once again, it was weird. It's like, these fucking people, everybody's like a nerd now, you know what I mean? And this was a couple years ago anyway. Maybe, I'm sure, shit's been going on for years, over the last decade where like, Big Bang Theory and stuff. But it was just really weird and it was just like, everything was fucking cringy, because there was like all these like, cloned fucking new males with like all the exact same tattoo and all like the same thick glasses, and everybody just looked the fucking same, and they were all fucking sitting around being dipshits or whatever. I'm drunk. I start fucking putting on some gangster rap music. I'm fucking going down hallways. I'm fucking just like, woo! I'm going wild. I'm having a good time. And I ended up running into this chick who, once again, was just like, oh, I'm so lay nerd, lol, whatever. But whatever, I don't care, I'm fucking drunk. We go out and we're having a cigarette outside, and she's like, I'm gonna go back to my hotel room, I got some weed, you wanna go fucking smoke some weed? And I'm like, I could tell she was feeling me, and it was pretty legit, she was pretty attractive, and everything was pretty good. Everything was kinda chill, she had like some fucking new male, was like trying to get all on her, whatever, and I just fucking like, I literally just like fucking grabbed her, and I like, boom. I mean, I didn't hit her, but I like pulled her over. I'm like, what's up, baby, how you doing? How you doing, babe? What's up? So she was kind of feeling me, I think. So anyways, we finished our cigarette and we're going back in, and all of a sudden, one of these guys who had been in the gaming room with me, he fucking just like, of course, at the time, before this incident, he was just timid, whatever, just fucking, twiddling his thumbs and whatever. But once I'm going with this chick, he fucking grabs me, he's like, she is not able to consent. She is intoxicated. You must immediately leave her alone, or I will be forced to take action. And I'm like, dude, I don't even fucking care. I don't even know this chick. I don't even want really anything to do with her. I'm just having a good time. But you just fucking killed my good time. So all I gotta say is you're a fucking bitch, and you're a little pussy boy, and I should fucking punch your teeth through the back of your throat, you fucking faggot. And, so he, we had our little, face off, and we kind of just went separate ways or whatever. Of course, I was fucking hammered, so I'm like, whatever. I kind of just walked off, and I was like, whatever, it's not that big a deal. But I woke up next morning, and I was still pissed about it. I'm like, these fucking goddamn, these fucking people, it used to be, years ago, it was just a bunch of comfy, autistic, fat neckbeard guys all around a table. We're all having a good time, all just kind of joking and laughing. Everything's so comfortable, everything's so good, but now it's like everything's just fucking, everything has to be fucking picked apart, and everybody's gotta have their little fucking queer fingers all over everything. Oh, well, that's not very nice. That's not very, appropriate. Cosplay does not equal consent. Do you have your affirmative consent forms for breathing near my lady? I'm like, fuck you, dude. How about you fucking, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? It really pissed me off a lot, cause these fucking goddamn little fucking dweeby bug men. I'm like, fuck you guys, you know what? This is not comfy, this is not bro tier anymore. You're a bunch of fucking homos, and you're literally homos, and you're fucking each other in the ass and wearing girls' clothes, you fucking faggots. So I'm like, I'm done with this. Boom. I was like, whatever, it's all good. I'm cool on this, I'm chilling on this, and that was it for me, And it's different when you go somewhere like Anime Expo, in fucking LA. You know what you're going in to expect. You know there's gonna be some shit that you're probably not gonna agree with. But so you're going in there, and you're kind of just mellow with it, I mean? You wouldn't go there if you weren't, familiar. But when it was when it was something that I had grown to know and enjoy, and it just became this thing that was so like, it hurt, man. It didn't feel good. Did not feel good to me. It was a sad day. So, a lot of good convention memories. Maybe, some more will be made. I still get messages. There was, some people who wanted me to fly up northern Canada for a convention back in the summertime. But unfortunately it was gonna be like several $100s, and it just wasn't really gonna work out for me at the time, so. But, I mean, it's about, doing what you want to do, having people around that you enjoy and everything, and just, trying to find the best parts of it. Like when I was at VidCon, it was, a lot of shit that was not going to interest me at all, and not anything remotely in my alley, so to speak. But I had, there's people I met, and I had a good time and had fun with it, So that's my stories about conventions and my sad, no longer attending a lot of conventions story that, give it to you now. Now I wanted to end this episode on something that I've talked about mostly on streams. I've never made a video about it, although I had intended to make a video about it, earlier in the past. But I'm getting around to it now. So there was something that I came to develop or theorize. Probably, gosh dang, it's probably been months now. It was back in, I don't know, was that May originally? Ooh, man, I can't remember 100% for sure, but basically, let me give you a little backstory. So, I came back, last year, about 11 months ago now, I came back to YouTube after, I was kind of out of it. I didn't know if I was going to come back at all. I'd had some issues in life, obviously, and I had gone through some things, but I decided to come back. And when I came back, I was very positive and very, I was trying to just clean my slate from all the bullshit I'd had to deal with in life. I'm like, I want to do everything positive, no matter what. Nothing's going to bring me down. And that's kind of where I'm at again right now. I'm not perfect, but that's kind of where I'm at again right now. But I came into it and, I've made some videos, or I'm trying to give some people some decent advice, or trying to anyway. I don't always walk the walk the best way I should, but I try and talk the talk when I'm stable to do it, But I was trying to give advice to guys and girls. So I'm talking to some guys, I'm talking to some girls, and the guys I'm talking to, for the most part, a lot of them, they're making good progress in life. They're getting in shape the way they want to. They're getting their first kisses. They're getting their first girlfriends. They're, losing their virginity if that's what they wanted to do. I'm not saying that's like, every single guy I talked to all of a sudden was going out and just drilling every bad bitch, but that's what they were, they're lonely and they're trying to, move in that direction in life. A lot of guys are making progress. I'm like, cool, that's good, that's great. But I was talking to females, and, a lot of these females I'm talking to, they're also having relationship issues, but it was, more like their boyfriends were literally fucking other women in front of them. They were beating them, all this, like, really horrible shit. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, you gotta just fucking leave these dudes. If these dudes are doing all this shit to you, you can't be, I've been in abusive relationships, with, not even just romantic, but I've just had abusive shit with people in my life, so I'm trying to give them some advice on this. And the women, I think almost entirely, maybe at this point, maybe a couple of them that I talked to eventually decided to change, but so many of them just, like, fucking flocked right back to just beat some more and whatever else. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, why are you not just, why don't you, like, block this guy? Oh, well, what, and it was just so wild to me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing from some of these women. And, it actually then occurred to me as this was going on, it was actually when I was at my job, my grocery store job, and there was a woman there who, she had dated, or I don't know if she'd been married, whatever the case was. Well, it actually wasn't even just one woman. It was really, goddamn near about every single female who I worked with. They were single mothers. They got knocked up by some guy who was a fucking ex-con, or whatever, that beat them mercilessly, did horrible things to them, fucking tortured them, and then after however many years, they ended up getting with a more decent guy who was actually doing things with his life, and they fucking were so rude to these guys that they ended up being with, just being totally, like, just making all these backhanded comments, I'd be at work, they'd be like, oh yeah, guess what? My boyfriend said, this guy I've been dating for 3 years, yeah, he said he wanted to have sex last night, and I just fucking laughed in his face and slammed the door in his face after, the chick that did that, the guy she did before, had fucking kidnapped women, it was fucking in human trafficking, all this fucking horrible shit. But she gets a guy who's makes decent money and has his own place, all this stuff, and her reaction is just to mock him and belittle him. So I thought this was kind of strange that I'm kind of taking notice suddenly. My mindset before had been, I'm not, at one point in my life when I was younger, I was all about that, like, oh, women just don't like nice guys, they only like jerks. But then I grew up a little more and I'm like, okay, no, it's more that they want guys who are confident and attractive and they're doing things with their lives, maybe they make money, whatever the case might be. But now, all of a sudden, I'm seeing girls who are dating not all these guys were total losers, but a lot of them just were doing nothing. They were older men who had fucking just everything in their life was fucking taking everything from everybody they could get their hands on, not attractive, fat, slovenly, kind of like, like me. But they were crazy about these guys. They were like, oh, he's a real man, cause if I get out of line, he'll punch me right in my face, cause that's what a real man does. He's real, he's strong, he's not afraid to, put me in my place or whatever. I'm like, this is fucking insanity. This is ridiculous. So I started talking about on my streams, I'm like, oh shit, you know what? If you want a girlfriend, dude, just be violent, brah. Just be violent, brah. Cause every fucking girl who I'm talking to, all of a sudden I realize that they love guys who just, just fucking go crazy on them. And, then there was a guy whose YouTube channel is Bar, and he had, I think, last time I checked, he wasn't uploading videos very often, but I believe the most recent videos he had uploaded, at least as of like a few months ago, was discussing this topic, and it has a name, which is coined by somebody who I don't really want to have anything to do with this guy. If you know, John Money is the one who coined the term for this. Hybristophilia is like his term he coined, and he's the guy who like cut those kids' dicks off or whatever in the 70s and they killed themselves or whatever. So he's a fucked up dude. He's like Kinsey. They're both fucking psychotic lunatics, But I think he's kind of on, no pun intended, but I think he's kind of on the money with this Hybristophilia, because if you'll notice, I mean, in this Bar guy's videos, maybe I should just go pull them up. Maybe I'll put them in the description here. Yeah, why don't we just do that? I'll put them in the description if you want to check them out, so you can kind of get like an hours long talk on this topic and kind of get familiar with it. But he basically just says, you know what? Women love violent men, but it depends. Like, some women love violent men in the way that they want to get their butt smacked, or, whatever. Maybe they want to get a little bit of a butt smack in public, or maybe they want to get their butt smacked when you're making love, or maybe get a little choke going on, or whatever, if they're freaky. But some women, they love serial killers, they love murderers. That's like the thing that gets them going. You have guys, there's women now, rest in peace, Elliot Rodger. There's females on YouTube who their whole thing is, I love Elliot, if Elliot was alive, he'd be my boyfriend or whatever. But, obviously with Elliot, you could argue that maybe he wanted a certain particular type of woman, wouldn't just settle for, any girl who came in his radius. But, it goes to show you that basically, if you are somebody who does, and it's crazy, it's crazy. I think it's horrible. And I think that another example that kind of goes to show this is, like in the hood, it would be like if there's a guy if there's like 5 different guys all growing up together, and one guy all of a sudden decides he's gonna get some tattoos, and he's gonna, be a gangster, and he's gonna, do gangster criminal activity or whatever. Women are almost certainly, if the other 4 guys are not into that, women are probably gonna go for this fucking criminal guy. Like, it's interesting to them, he's a real man if he's not afraid to, slap them around every now and then. That's women think that's what a real man does. He's not afraid, he's not a little pussy boy, and that's, women, they like to try and do a shit test on men where they'll get in your face and they'll yell because they want a response. They want you to fucking, be like, fucking throw them against the wall or whatever. And, I don't condone any of that, obviously. I don't think any woman is worth, going to prison over some kind of domestic shit, because, that's what gives them the tingles, is to get smacked around. I don't think that's good or decent. If you're smacking their butt every now and then in a playful way, great, but I wouldn't recommend anybody doing any crazy violent shit just for female affection or attention. But it's something that's obviously, somehow it just kind of didn't really register with me for so long, until I kind of started to realize that, there was another girl who I talked to not that long ago. Well, actually, one who I talked to who, this dude was like a legit serial killer in the making. He was laughing about like killing small animals and stuff. And this is like a guy that, she was like, wanted to date originally. I'm like, there was no warning. He all of a sudden was like the most stand-up guy. Oh, well, yeah, he was kind of a really awful person, but, I'm gonna change him, and he would love me, and da-da-da, and all that bullshit. And some other girl who her fucking boyfriend, cheated on her. I don't understand this. Like, women get cheated on and beat and all this stuff, and they will never in a million years ever want to stop talking to these guys who do this shit to them. It's fucking ridiculous if you ask me, but I don't really care that much about women. I do my thing. They, whatever, we'll have our fucking holographic girlfriends and our sex bots or whatever. They can keep on getting beat up if they want to, but. Alright, well, my friends, I think that's probably gonna wrap it up for today's episode of Egg Wars. Thank you again so much for tuning in. I do greatly appreciate you spending this time with me today. Apologize, like I said yesterday, I was kind of just worn out from being at the hospital. I was crutching around, freezing outside, all that shit. But I'm going to try to keep up with the daily. Moving on here out forward. And, but until next time, my dudes, catch you later.
Sounds from the void.